Hey guys, Mike Toy here, Bonsai Boise. So I had these old honeysuckle cuttings, and when I took the cuttings, I think I took maybe 20 or 30 at the time because I did a pretty good hack job, and I just stuck them in whatever soil I had. Some was good, some was bad. Um, as you can see here, so you can see the roots growing. This is some of the better draining soil. That first one, the soil really wasn't draining much. I can tell just by how, it looks basically. But you can see there's some buds there. So these are the ones that survived so far. There's another one. It seems to be some kind of like semi-evergreen because some of them kept leaves, some of them didn't. This one I'm not even 100% sure yet if that leaf down there is part of a honeysuckle or just a weed. I can't tell. So my plan is to take the one I'm holding now and the two on the right and make kind of a little forest group bonsai out of them. And the one on the left, just make a single bonsai. The one on the left hasn't really flourished or done very well, I assume because of the soil it's in. But you can see buds there. It is still alive and kicking, if not barely. So that's the one I'm hoping takes because it's just got that old gnarly looking bark on there. And after a few years, once some of those cuts smooth out, I think it'll look cool. So I'm going to start with this. You can see it's got some green in there. I assume that's mold. It's not moss for sure. At this point, I'm sort of holding my breath, hoping it's got some roots. I took these cuttings in about June of 2021, and it's now December of 21. So you can see it's got some roots. Not many, but it's got some. So that's good. I'm just going to clean it off here a little bit, get some of that old nasty soil off and whatever that green mold stuff is. Scrub so hard I broke the toothbrush off there. Look at that. But yeah, I'm being real careful here not to damage those tiny little roots that are just holding on. Everything depends on those roots. The weather has been pretty mild here in Boise, even though it's wintertime. It's been in the 30s, 40s. So I don't mind doing it this time of year. However, I'll give you one spoiler and say that as I was making this, I wouldn't call it a blizzard, but I'll say a big cold front and snow front came in just while I was doing it. So I was like, oh man, I don't want to put it outside in this. So I have a little miniature indoor greenhouse. I'm going to put it in there, let it kind of get established, and then just transition it in the spring to outside. But that's beside the point. For now, I'm just putting some actual bonsai soil in it. And I'm going to use some little stones just to prop it up and hold it together. I'm going to water it very thoroughly here. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that I almost always put a little slant on the trees that I put in the pots. I do it for a number of reasons. I think it adds more character. I think it also gives you more options down the road. After a few years of growing in this direction, if you decide you don't like it, you can change, but the branches will have grown up toward the sun, and so it will create more movement. That's sort of my thinking behind why I do it. And I just think it's more fun, more interesting looking. This I'm going to have to chip away at the top part of the trunk there. We'll do that in another video. For now, that's the pot I'm going to use here for these guys. I do think the root system is going to be better in these. In fact, I know it is because I did it already. But even at the time, I was thinking that because you can kind of just see. I'm a big fan of using these old water bottles as little makeshift pots for cuttings. because you can see, look at all those roots there. You can see how it's doing. You know, you can see the roots growing. And I think the deeper pot for cuttings helps it get established more easily. If you put it in something shallow, it's a little harder for, basically you've got less trunk area to grow roots from. So I've had better success with cuttings putting them in a deeper pod like an old water bottle. And they're cheap and easy. And yay, look at that. That is part of the honeysuckle. It even has roots, better roots than that last big one. So I was happy to see that that is not a weed. It is the actual honeysuckle plant. Off camera, what you can't see, I've got a bucket of water off to the side, and I just sort of dunked them in that bucket of water just to kind of loosen up that old soil. I didn't bare root it necessarily, but I got a lot of that old soil off. They're a little young for me to be bare rooting and root pruning and all that. I didn't prune the roots at all in this. They're so young and still trying to get established. Pruning the roots would serve no purpose whatsoever except to slow down the growth and hurt their health. Root pruning will come much, much further down the road. I'm just going to clean this one off too, get some of that old soil off. Couldn't quite decide how to position this. Again, that's sort of the beauty of working with young cuttings like this. It kind of doesn't matter. Does a little, but not really. Because this will not be the final design when it's all said and done anyway, so I don't want to overthink it. They do look a little taller in the pot than I had sort of pictured in my mind. So I'm going to cut the top parts of two of the taller two, and I'm going to use those and try and make cuttings out of those, which I'll show you here in just a second. I have no idea if it's going to work. We'll see. But either way, I thought they were just a little tall. Tall and straight, that is. Yeah, so I'm just really getting them well watered, helping them sort of hold together better in the pot. And like the last one, I put some rocks in just to add some stability. The mother plant that these cuttings all came off of is pretty massive, and I did an air layer on it last June. That's when I took these cuttings. And this spring I'm going to check on that air layer and see if it took. And one way or the other, I'm going to start the process of bonsaiing that mother tree. So I'll put a link to that in the up here at the top. First, let's trim it up a little. Too small and weak. We'll get rid of that one. Sort of trying to decide where to cut, how far down, all the way down to those two arms, or no. Decided no. Again, I'm not necessarily advocating for doing it this way. It was sort of just a last minute decision. I didn't even plan to do it like that. I just thought it was going to be those three cuttings, but I figured why not try. The worst that can happen is that it won't work. Fairly confident that the first three are going to work. It's these later cuttings I'm not so sure of, but I hope so. I can't say I've ever seen a honeysuckle forest planting bonsai. Can't say I've ever looked either, but I've never come across one, and I watch a lot of bonsai videos on YouTube. So who knows? Maybe there's a reason. Maybe they don't like it, or maybe no one's just ever taken the time. So we're gonna all find out together with this one. I think had a little analysis paralysis here on this. Someone did tell me once to be careful with honeysuckles because they are considered an invasive plant. They grow like crazy. But this particular one has really nice white flowers in the spring. So that's it. That's a look at my honeysuckle cuttings that I turned into pre-bonsais. One is a forest group and one is just a single trunk. I'll keep you guys updated on how they do and if they made it or didn't make it, or one way or the other. I'll keep you updated, and so we can all see together how they do. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.